Hello there, and welcome to Selling in a Skirt with Judy Hoberman. I'm Judy. For those of you that have been with me before, welcome back. We're so happy you keep coming back. And for those of you that are brand spanking new, welcome. Selling in a Skirt is all about connection, community, and creating amazing relationships. We make sure that we empower professional women and we encourage men to basically be sponsors and advocates and champions for and with women. What I love most about what I get to do is I get to introduce you to the most incredible women and men, and today is no exception. What we love to find out is all about them, what makes them tick, and what they're doing to empower the next generation of leaders. So, without further ado, I'm going to read just a little snippet of my guest, and I am super excited. I can't even tell you. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to somebody that I met purely by luck, because we know there are no coincidences. And she is one of the biggest rock stars I've ever met. And I just love the fact that she's here. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Kari Michelson. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Okay, so certainly the performing career of Kari Michelson is the antithesis of the plea of all young entertainers to give me a break. This was ironically the title of the NBC hit series Gimme a Break, which brought her to fame and made her an elite member of the young Hollywood celebrities that emerged in Hollywood. Her television, film, and theater credits account for an impressive list of accomplishments any actress would be proud of. Gimme a Break finally wrapped after 6 successful seasons. She has been a public speaker and she hosts educational seminars for over 25 years. I can't even believe it's been 25 years. Combining those skills with her years of experience in front of the camera seemed natural and somewhat destined. As the next step after her television series Gimme a Break wrapped, her career in broadcasting was born. Some of her broadcasting credits include hosting a morning talk show, a news magazine show, and the weekly interview show In the Spotlight. And she has guests on In the Spotlight have included Martin Sheen, John Travolta, Jim Belushi, Kenny Loggins, Mick Fleetwood, Larry Hagman, Tony Robinson, and the list goes on and on. She's also a fashion expert and has had a very successful fashion line at QVC for 5 years. And there's so much more, but I don't want to waste any more time. So I'm so excited to have you here, Kari. I gave an overview, but I just want to say hello first.
Hello. It's so good to see you and so great to be here.
Yeah, I remember when we first met and the room was filled with these guys that were trying to get you to buy this and that and the other thing. And I just remember thinking, there's got to be somebody here that has the relationships and wants to be part of the room, the group, and everything. And then you walked in. It was like I manifested somebody. You walked in, and I thought, oh, this is what it's all about, because you were like a breath of fresh air. So I am so grateful that we actually met that day.
I am too, and I had the same feeling about you. I mean, I was traveling, speaking, and we were helping people to learn how to get their book launched and all of
Mm-hmm.
that and published. And you're right, it was a group of incredibly wicked smart digital marketers that I was on tour with. But just the moment that I met you, I was like, oh, she is extra special. And we had a lot of fun
We
that
did.
week. And we actually did an interview with you for our show. And it was really amazing. And it's so fun to reconnect with you. And we've been connected all these years since then,
I
right?
know.
It's
And
been
your
amazing.
son was this big when I first met him, and now he's a grown man. It's just like
Yeah.
it's incredible. It's incredible. So I want to dive right in because there's just so much to talk to you about. So the beginning, as I usually say, tell me why you do, what you love about it, and what has been the most interesting thing for you. So just basically give us you. That's all I want is I want you.
Oh, okay, I'll try to do the Cliff Notes version. So as you read, I grew up on a television series on NBC, and which was amazing. Also not amazing. It was my dream come true. It was what I had wanted throughout my childhood. But we had a rough set to work on, and after that, I kind of started reevaluating what did I want to do next. I really felt at that time I did not want to stay in a contract. I was under contract to NBC for 7 years, and I decided, it's kind of interesting, money, fame, power, all of that. It definitely doesn't make you happy. I was making more money than I could spend as a very young girl. The show was airing all over the world, so I was known by people, but our set was very toxic. And I realized very young, I think by the time I was 22 years old, it doesn't matter how much money you're making or how much power you have or how much fame you have. That does not make you happy if you're living on a day-to-day base in a negative environment. And it had to do with the fact that the star of our show had a very serious drug and alcohol problem and pretty much all of the addictions. And not she was a beautiful person on the inside, but when you have that going on, it affects you in a negative way. And there was a lot of toxicity. And so when I left, I started reevaluating where I wanted to go next. And during that time, I was on tour with a lot of other young actors in the entertainment business, that some of you, depending how old you are, will know or not know. So I was on tour with Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert Downey Jr. and a bunch of other people, Marlee Matlin, and a lot of people in the entertainment business. And we would go to junior high schools, or high schools, and go to the assembly. We didn't get paid for it, and just tell the kids, what we did to become successful and get these television shows. And Sarah and her family had lived in their car. Robert Downey Jr., of course, we know he's had his challenges with the substance abuse and things. My girlfriend Alexandra was on Baywatch and talked about trying to overcome the stigma of being looked at as a pretty girl as opposed to as a, respected actress. And I had an eating disorder. And so I would talk about the challenges of getting over that, in front of America. And I fell in love with speaking. And so, long story short, when I left the show, I started speaking at some events. And then I got offered to host a talk show. And I was like, okay, this sounds amazing. And my first interview was with Martin Sheen. And I remember his PR people gave me 5 minutes. And he was dedicating a wing of a rehab facility. And during that time, and I'll get done with this in a minute, but it's kind of why it led me to what I do now. Charlie Sheen, his son, had been struggling a lot in the public with his issues.
Right.
And here was Martin, dedicating this wing of a rehab facility. And we started talking, and we talked for 30 minutes. It was amazing. And I realized, because I had been in that chair where I'd been interviewed by the media, and I realized, wow, I love this. I love that he said some of the most profound, amazing things as a father and as obviously an Emmy Award winning and, Academy, nominee and all of that, that I knew would help people who had a child that was struggling with an addiction. And I thought, this is what I want to do. And so from there, I interviewed John Travolta and Larry Hagman and Jim Belushi and all these people and Mick Fleetwood. And it just became a love for me. And so my career led me to speaking. I spoke on tour for many years with one of the top tours with past presidents and NFL Hall of Fame people and Colin Powell and Steve Forbes and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm actually doing that show that I originally did. It had gone off the air. Now we're back on the air on ABC. So I'm doing the same thing and interviewing celebrities, and we highlight charitable organizations. But what's been a passion for us is we're also highlighting small business owners who need a platform, need promotion, and we've added that segment in. And it's been such an incredible joy. And it's funny, I never could have imagined when I was acting on television that I would end up as a host and producer of a talk show. Like, it's so funny how life is, and it takes you in different chapters. And that's when I met you, when I was traveling and touring and teaching people how to get their message out, So it's exciting.
It is. And, I think that everybody should be really grateful that you went for, not all Hollywood children actors go into something like this. A lot of them get into trouble. And you took the opposite direction, which was amazing. And you realized, I need to get out of toxicity and I need to get into something that's going to help people. And I do remember when you were saying that, I remember the very first time I was supposed to be interviewed on the radio, they gave me, it was a 10-minute segment. And I remember waiting in the wings, and the person before me was interviewing Bobby Brown. And I really didn't even know who Bobby Brown was. But this woman was so excited to interview her that she took her 10 minutes and my 9.5 minutes. And so the producer is saying to me, can you do anything for 30 seconds? And so I did. I said something very profound for 30 seconds, and that was the end of it. So he said to me, you said more in 30 seconds than most people say in 30 minutes. So can we have you back? So I came back the next week, I did my 10 minutes, and then they offered me a radio show. And I was on live radio for 8 years. So yeah,
Wow.
so I know I know what it's like to share a message, but it's also pretty nerve-wracking when you're thinking, like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And then all of a sudden, it just happens,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like you say, you never know, like with people, and it used to be in the old days, right? That you would get one job and work and do that for years or have one business. And I think people go now in chapters of their lives. And I
Hmm.
was very blessed to be raised by two people. They were both entertainers, by the way. I met in a Broadway show and all of that. But they really raised me to believe that I should do what made me happy. It was not about, they could have cared less about Give Me a Break and me being on an NBC hit television show. Like their whole thing is, when are you going to go do some Shakespeare in the park? Because
Right,
like fame meant nothing to them.
right,
It was all about you doing something positive in the world and making a contribution and being happy. And so I think I was very lucky. And you're right, a lot of my friends got into trouble. Many of
hmm,
them passed away as a result of the pressure of drugs and alcohol and fame and all of that. And I did go through, to be real, I mean, I went through some really dark times when I was trying to recover from my eating disorder. I mean, I'm lucky to be alive, quite frankly. And it's during that time that I started reevaluating it. The entertainment business is really hard on your self-esteem. I mean,
right.
there's a lot of stuff that go on, not only when you're trying to get well known, but once you get well known, and then there's a whole nother level of stuff that goes on. That is one of the reasons why you see a lot of actors who've become very successful kind of go off the deep end. And I just feel really grateful that I'm actually still in the media and I'm still putting out a positive message, but I don't have to deal with that aspect of
Right.
the challenges that people go through, um, as an actor.
Yeah.
And have
And
you heard the Me Too movement and all of that? I had a lot of that stuff happen to me, not to the degree as some other people,
right.
but I'm in control now. I don't have to deal with any of that. I'm actually the producer of the show, so I don't have to deal with the casting couch or any of the people that you've heard about in the media who use their power to take advantage of young women with a dream.
Yeah, yeah, and you hear that way too often. And some of the things that you talk about now is about having credibility, and because
Yeah.
having credibility is a lot different than having somebody on a couch. It is different. So tell me what credibility means to somebody that wants to get into the media or social media, and why it is so crucial in today's environment, because we live in a crazy world today.
Yeah. Well, what I didn't realize at the time, but I know now, is when I moved from acting into speaking and broadcasting, that my credibility from having had so much television exposure and
Hmm.
having people who actually, knew me and followed me around the world, right? It opened so many doors for me that would never have been opened had I not had that. Now, once the door opened, I had to go through it and prove that I could do the gig. Like when I was brought to speak on this tour with Steve Forbes and Colin Powell and these past presidents and whatnot, they were looking for someone who could host the show, do a keynote in the morning, interview every single person on that stage who wasn't comfortable speaking in front of. We were speaking in these basketball arenas that were holding
I
30,000
remember those.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was hosting it and I would interview, Drew Brees from the Saints, and I would interview Eli Manning, and I interviewed Michael Phelps, and all the different Olympians and things like that. And so I had to have the goods to do that. But the credibility that I had from television opened the door for me to go through, and then I had to prove myself that I could actually do the work. Like they could have cared less about an actress from a sitcom. They wanted to know I could speak, I could interview, I could do all of that stuff. And it was the same thing, when I had this fashion line when I was at QVC. um, one of the first things they always said to people when I came on stage was, many of you have grown up with her, blah, blah, blah. If you ever watched Gimme a Break and this and that and everything. So they would always bring that up. And because it was my same demographic, and people who grew up watching me on television, there's like a know, like, and trust factor. And
Right.
so when you are trying to promote your own business, having credibility in the media is everything. And so even with my show now, when we went to repitch it to ABC, not only as me hosting it, the fact that I had not just the credibility from my television series, but from my speaking
Right.
and from all of the other things that I had done, I had it was they almost immediately gave me a time slot, prime time, right after their midday news, right before Good Morning America 3. And like that's like an I never expected that. But bottom line, yes, I had to be good on camera and be able to host a show, but they didn't even make me give them a pilot. And I know that's because A, they could go to my social media, they could see what I do, and the fact that I, can speak and I interview celebrities or whatever. But when it comes to a business owner, I realized, wow, there's so many business owners that I have coached and, spoken to all over the world that have not had the success they wanted because they didn't have the credibility to
Right.
move people to want to learn more. So what we realized is if we could empower a solo entrepreneur or a small business owner to be featured on ABC television. We also place people on NBC, CBS, Fox, all of that, all over the United States. If we could empower them, in an interview segment or with promotional videos, so that when somebody is considering buying from them, working with them, they would at least take the step to find out more, then it would move the needle.
Right.
And that's been incredibly effective for our clients because look, there's so many talented people, out there working so hard to build a business, but no one knows who they are and they don't have the know, like, and trust factor. And when somebody appears in the media, especially if they're on ABC or NBC or Fox or CBS, there's an instant trust that the public has that they would not normally have because you can't just get on the show. I mean, like every single person that we have that we coach and consult with or who appears on our show has to be vetted by ABC,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I think that's where it's really helpful. And media is so powerful in helping people to have that know, like, and trust factor, as well as how they promote themselves in social media. Because some people have no idea how to promote themselves in social media. So we teach people how to model what the television industry does and the movie industry does to promote their movies and television shows. And they model the same thing to promote their business, as well as modeling the top people in internet marketing. Because they're basically running commercials constantly all over social media. Most people don't know how to create those, what to say, how to say it, all of that.
But like you said, there's a lot of us, and myself included, we all have books. And as soon as you have a
Yes.
book, you get credibility. But
Yes.
you might get in the door, but you still have to be able to hold a conversation, say something that's impactful or valuable. And so, when you think about it, there has to be some kind of strategies that
Yes.
people get. And one of the things I always talk about, Kari, is you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
And you shouldn't do it alone because there are experts. And that's why, if everybody, they always, concentrate on the things that they're bad at. How about if you concentrate what you're good at and take that and work with somebody who's good at the things that you're not? And
Right.
that's where you come in. I mean, you're an expert. You really, I mean, obviously you are. You've got millions of commercials and TV time and media and all of that and years and years and years of being in front of the camera. So when you say to somebody, do it this way or do it that way, but why don't people take more advantage of an expert? I mean, you're an expert. You are the expert. So why don't people
Well,
take more advantage of that?
yeah, in general, I have had so many mentors in my life. When I decided to relaunch our ABC show, I went to a friend of mine who has a show on the air, a talk show, and we had long conversations. When we decided to launch our consulting program, I went to people who had consulting programs
Right.
and said, "What's the best way to set this up?" I have had mentors and coaches. It's the same thing like my son who is working on trying to go pro on the golf tour, right? He's in college right now playing for university. Well, every single pro athlete has a coach. One of the things that Michael Phelps said when I was interviewing him, the reason why he won all those gold medals is he and his coach came up with a strategy that would put him ahead of the competition, which I'm not going to go into the details now. There's an interview where he explains it that I did with him, but it was so fascinating. And I think Everybody needs a coach. I don't care how successful you are. The people that I know that are making, $10 million a year want to make $100 million, a
They have a
year.
coach.
They get a mentor, they get a coach.
Yeah,
And to your point, like when you have a book, the book will open doors for credibility, but then you need to know how to take the book. And, a lot of people don't realize, well, you can turn that book into a course that really will help people to a deeper level if you
right.
do some, consulting and things like that. And, as far as why don't more people do that? Well, I think it's because maybe they don't know the right person to pick to coach them, or they may have had a bad experience with someone that said they could mentor them and they didn't give them the results. I mean, one of the things that we recognized is there's no, you can get in the media all day long and do your little, 3 minutes on shows. I mean, it's not hard to do if you keep pursuing it. I mean, okay, it is actually hard to
It
do,
is hard to
but
do.
it can be done. The
Yeah,
problem is when most people are featured in the media, they don't get to talk about them. They can only serve the audience. They don't necessarily get to promote their next, speaking gig or their consulting program or their product or whatever it is. That's why we created something where people could literally come on our different shows and literally we basically produce an infomercial for them. So they get the credibility and they get the promotion at the same time. And I think it's worth you guys doing your due diligence when you look for a mentor. Like obviously you consult with people and you're incredibly successful at what you do and you have a lot of people that you've helped over the years. So all people need to do is to speak to one of your previous clients
right.
to know that you're reputable, you're going to be there, you really care about people, you want to help them have a transformation. It's the same like thing when people want to work with us. I mean, they can just talk to our clients went from making no money to making, $12,000 a week. You know what I mean? So, when you go to find a mentor, you need to make sure that they've had success and they have truly helped other people. Because there are, unfortunately, people out there that will try to sell you into a program that, doesn't deliver the results that you need.
Right. And
Although I will say, as an addendum, I do think you can learn something from every single coaching experience you go through. I really do. I think sometimes people don't realize they learn something that they didn't on the way to their journey of becoming successful. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that
yeah,
make sense?
absolutely. And a lot of times, some of the things you learn are the things that you won't do either, which is
Yes, exactly.
which is
Like,
really
yeah.
important. But I have a question for you. A lot of times when people are going to go on to, whether it's social media or the media, we talk about personal branding. And when you
Yeah.
ask people about personal branding, the first thing they talk about is their logo, the colors that they wear, the font that they use, and all of this. That is not personal branding. That's a business
No.
card, and that's your stationery, and that
Yeah.
could be your branding, but it's not your personal branding. Talk to us about what personal branding is and how important it is to actually show up.
Yeah. So the most important thing, and again, this doesn't just come from me. I mean, I am very blessed to be around, you know, people talk about branding, the networks, the
Hmm.
movie studios, the top internet marketers. I traveled with Tony Robbins for many years for people who are, in that world.
Yeah,
I've been, I've traveled with Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins and all those guys. Branding is about how you set yourself apart from the competition. There
hmm,
may be a ton of people that do the same thing that you do, but it's how do you set yourself apart and how do you show up? It doesn't matter how pretty your logo is, it doesn't matter what the colors are behind you if you don't present yourself effectively. And it's all, listen, you can have the greatest product, service, consulting program in the world. If you don't know how to promote it effectively, no one's going to follow you. No one's going to buy from you. No one ultimately is going to learn from you and be transformed by you.
right.
So if I ever learned anything during my time at NBC, I got the show hired as an actor. We spent as much time, if not more, in our promotional tour of the show as we spent acting on it. So we would shoot the show, and then NBC would send us on I was doing radio interviews, television interviews, Merv Griffin, Entertainment Tonight. Do you know what I mean? All the talk show circuits, Lisa Gibbons, back then it was, all the different people that had talk shows that I did, the Today Show. And I had to learn how to be a promoter. I did not know how to do that. The first time I appeared was on Merv Griffin. For people who are in the right age range, Merv
Yeah.
Griffin like owned television at the time.
Yes, he did.
And he was the number one guy, and they set me up to go. My publicist gave me a page of notes. You said this many times, you did this, you need to fix that the next time. I was like, oh my gosh, I was hired as an actor, not like a media person, right? But I learned quick, and the neatest thing that I learned about that is I watched actors, and I was in, like, so funny. I was on a television series, but in an acting class with Patrick Swayze and Tony Danza and all these people, right? That were, going to class. I learned that the most successful actors were not the ones that were successful. It was the one that were good at promoting themselves,
Right.
or they had a team of people behind them, agents, managers, PR people that were great at promoting them. So if you're not good at promoting yourself, you need to get around, either bring someone on your team that can help you learn how to do that through social media, all of that, or just learn some of the simple techniques that are effective in promoting your business so it will set you apart from all the noise out there, because that's a personal brand. It's when somebody says your name, they go, oh yes, I know who that is.
Right.
And like,
Right.
who would those people be for you that you can think of that their personal branding just sets them totally apart, Judy?
Well, I mean, you could think of somebody like Sarah Blakely.
Yes.
I mean, who knows who Sarah Blakely is, but her branding is so good and her
Yeah.
message is so powerful. I mean, if when I think about your branding is huge. And it's so interesting for me because the S from selling in a skirt is about standing out and making yourself unique. Because
Yeah.
I come from financial services, how many financial advisors are there? Millions. So why would somebody choose me as opposed to choosing John or Mary or Steve down the road? Because of the things that I was doing. But I always go back to one of the thing about personal branding is you also have to be authentic. Because you can't show up today as this person and then they wonder who's coming tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And so that's something that I think, and I don't want to say you have to learn how to be authentic, but you really have to focus on being authentic because otherwise
Well,
you're going to
listen,
be somebody else.
you're so right, because especially if people are on social media or on television, in the television media, like the first thing ABC does before I can bring somebody, even if it's a solo entrepreneur that we're going to have on the show in a 5-minute segment, and they're going to be stacked between Kenny Loggins and William Shatner and blah, 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 right? They want to make sure that this person can speak, right? And so they will go to their social media. That's the first thing they do, is research their social media before I can get approval to have them on the show, right? And so it's really hard for someone who's not an actor or a broadcaster to learn how to show up authentically
Right.
on camera, promoting themselves or being in the media if they get the opportunity to be featured in the media. It's a technique. I mean, this is what we teach our clients, because it's not a natural thing for the average person to look straight into the camera. Like right now, when I'm
Right.
talking to you, Judy, I'm actually not looking at you on the
That's right.
screen. I'm looking at the green dot
Right.
on my computer, because that's where you are.
Right.
You're
Which
not
is
on the
not,
screen.
no, it's not natural
It's not natural. But most people make the mistake when they're doing a
of
podcast
looking there.
or an interview. They look at them like, if I looked here at you the whole time, I'm not, my eyes are this way. I'm
Yeah.
not looking. And when I look here, so just that one thing, because
Right.
I know you, do you know what I mean? I know what you look like. I adore you and I respect you in so many ways. But for me to be effective in communicating with your audience and with you, those are little things that people don't even know, right?
Right.
And it makes a massive difference between success and failure of promoting yourself. If you have a brick and mortar business and you're not taking advantage of online or for goodness sakes, an online business, like where you're a consultant or a coach or whatever, and you don't really know how to master the techniques of promoting yourself in social media and in the media, your competition is going to squash you. I mean, there's just no question. It's the
Yeah.
people that learn how to do this that will literally can take their struggling, maybe six-figure business to multi six figures, seven, eight figures. That's it. It's the promotion, 100%.
Yeah.
I
And,
wanted to say something really
go
quick
ahead.
about what you said about the S and your S is that I have so much respect from the minute I met you and your brand, called Selling in a Skirt,
Right.
right? You are specifically reaching out to your avatar when you say selling in a skirt, right? I mean, I think people like the people who know they're not your avatar are not going to respond, but the ones that do know this is my woman. This is who I need to talk to. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
But messaging sometimes is very difficult, especially if you're working in the B2B space where your avatar is this person, but the buyer is this person. And then you have to,
Yeah.
and so sometimes it gets a little wonky. But, now that you brought up about, my avatar and everything, my favorite topic is women. You know that that's who it is. So do you think that women face more challenges getting credibility in the media? Because in many instances, in many industries, we're not first. So is
Yeah.
it more of an even playing field when it comes to media?
Well, yeah, as far as being promoted in the
Yeah,
media, if you're good at what you do and you have something powerful and wonderful to say, no problem. If you guys think now about television and like if you want to get on a talk show to promote your brand or if you want to get on the morning shows, you've got I mean, look what happened when Savannah Guthrie was on the Today Show and Matt Lauer left the show.
hmm,
They brought in Hoda Copy, right? And that was like, oh my gosh, there's no male anchor anchoring the morning show. When Barbara Walters started out, women were not,
right.
really considered to be anchors. And then she shifted that. Like when she first got on, I think it was with Hugh Downs. I mean, he did not want her to like have equal playing time. And that was a big struggle. And she really paved the way. If you think now you've got Hoda and Jenna have their own show. They've got the third hour of Today, and then they've got Savannah and Hoda hosting that. They've got, the female anchors are paid just equally, if not sometimes some of them are paid more than some of the male anchors. You've got Drew Barrymore and like all these women hosting talk shows. Drew and Kelly Clarkson and Tamron Hall and Sherry Shepherd and you still got the guys, the comedians doing late night. I mean, you still got Jimmy Fallon and all of that, but it's an equal playing field. So as far as promoting yourself in the media, as far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, and it really doesn't matter to the media if you have something powerful to say. And if you're a woman, you can target certain shows I have certain people, I'll tell them target this show, target that show
Hmm.
to go and speak about, what you're passionate about. And it doesn't really matter. As long as you are prepared, you do a great job, you know how to speak in sound bites, you can get your message out and not like I'm talking longer in these chapters because we're doing more of a
Yeah, yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
But when I do an interview, I have to speak in a sound bite.
Yes.
I got to answer a question in 1 second, like in 10 seconds, because they don't have time for us to have this more in depth conversation.
Yeah.
And most people don't. That's where they really mess up. They don't know how to speak in sound bites and get their message out effectively in 2 to 3 minutes.
And
And you
that
can
is
do a lot to promote yourself in 2 to 3 minutes if you know how to do
absolutely,
it.
absolutely. And it's funny because the studio that I'm in, when I first started my company, it was strictly PR. There was no podcasting, nothing like that. Jeff Crilly, who is the founder of all of this, he had his own little radio show. I mean, it was just a little thing. But I remember he used to get me on to all the stations, radio stations across the country. And you'd start out in the morning and you'd be in this one, and then you'd have like 15 or 20 different ones every 15 or 20 minutes. And he used to say to me, you have to talk in sound bites. You have to have something that is going to hit them right between the eyes and continue that, because that's what they're looking for. And it's very interesting because one of the shows who's in Bend, Oregon, after I stopped doing, all this stuff with Jeff, which I'm back with Jeff again, for the podcast, but this station kept me I'm with him every single month. It's supposed to be 3 minutes, and it's usually 5 to 8 to 10 minutes, and they just bring me on, and all he wants is like business sound bites. Boom,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. And so sometimes I'm thinking like, what kind of sound bite? But it always comes out. It always comes out, and it's always fun. So my question for you, really, 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 I mean, what makes you different? What makes you unique? What's your superpower that people need to know about? Because we can talk about all the things you've done, and we can talk about all the things you're planning on doing. But for now, what should people know? Why should they be looking for you when they want to be, that expert, and they want to be
Right.
credible and all of that? What's your superpower for them?
Well, the neat thing now is it's not about me anymore. I mean, when I was raised as an actor, it's all about you, right? And what's so nice at this chapter of my life is it's about how can I pass forward all these things that I learned from the PR department at NBC and in the entertainment
Mm-hmm.
business, help to help other people get their message out. And that's whether it's a celebrity, a charitable organization, a solo entrepreneur. And what we were just talking about as far as speaking in sound bites, what I love to do is I love to teach people the behind the scenes strategies about how to go on social media, how to go on television, how to promote yourself effectively, learn how to speak in sound bites. Because if you don't know how to do that, whether you're at a cocktail party or you're at a networking event, you're going to lose people if you don't
Right.
know how to say what you do in 35 seconds or tell your story. I tell my clients, some of them it takes them, like I obviously, and I did this earlier, I took 5 minutes to tell my story in this environment,
Totally
right? Because
different.
it's a podcast,
Yep.
right? Because it's appropriate for this environment. But if I was going to do that on television, I'm going to tell that story in about 15 seconds, 10 or 15 seconds or less. And I teach people, what we teach people how to do is how to present themselves that way so that they can be effective. We teach them how to gain instant credibility so they
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
basically get people to want to learn more about them and potentially work with them. We get them featured in the media so they have all the footage and all of that credibility that there's nothing that can touch that. I mean, you can't, I mean,
Right.
it's just unbelievable what it does for your business. And then more than that, we recognized that just having somebody on our show, even if they got the credibility and the ABC logo and all of this stuff, and I'm promoting them and letting them do a call to action, that was not going to move the needle if they didn't learn how to leverage that in all of their promotion moving forward. And so whether it's a solo entrepreneur or if they have a team of people that work with them on PR, we teach them how to leverage that and then how to basically create all the commercials that they need moving forward to promote their business, their product, their service. And to my knowledge, there's no one else out there doing that because I grew up in the most people
Right.
haven't had this experience like I had growing up in the media. So it's something that's so much fun for me to teach people what really goes on behind the scenes at a network, a movie studio, a top speaking tour, and how, I mean, every single speaker that I've been on the road with, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Steve Forbes, Colin Powell, all these people, right? They have a promo video that they play before they take the stage, right? Tony Robbins still has a promo video that he plays that, before I would like bring him out and introduce him, he's still got a promo video. So why wouldn't every single entrepreneur need one of those? If you are promoting how many of you ever seen a movie that's coming out and all you see over and over is the
The
trailer,
trailer.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Well, it's the same thing that you need to have as a business owner. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have a really powerful trailer. I tell my clients, if you don't have a really powerful trailer promo video on the top of the fold on your website that makes people instantly know what you do, why you're so passionate, what's the transformation that you provide, and how they can find out more, you are losing. You have so much money walking out the door every single day. So it doesn't matter how hard you work, they're going to get to your website. And if it's a bunch of text and stuff, and you don't have a promo video and maybe a few people sharing how you've changed their lives, you're losing business every day, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so that's what we do that, we recognize most people don't know how to do that. And that's what we love to do and help people to do. And, we have a joy of, we even work with celebrities who have, they were famous as an actor, but then they've started a business or they're promoting a charity and they want to learn from us. How
How to
can
do
we
that.
promote that more effectively? We are very blessed to be promoting a wonderful organization called Unity that is based in Santa Barbara. And Kenny Loggins and Brad Paisley are on the board. And they do unbelievable things, which I won't go into detail now, is about people who are underprivileged and have need. And even their CEO, took me to lunch and said, can you help us? We need to get the word out on it. Even with Kenny Loggins and Brad Paisley being on the board, they're still trying to up level their promotion because they're constantly needing to raise money to keep this nonprofit open. Does
Yeah,
that make sense? You know what
it
I'm
makes
saying? It's
perfect
all
sense.
about the PR.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this, like I said, the world is a very noisy place, and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not right, in the front row, people are not going to listen. So having somebody, making sure that they're there. So my question for you is, as a leader and an expert in social media and in media, what's the number one piece of advice you can give to women, especially who are looking to take their career and their business to the next level?
Um, I would tell them to trust yourself. A lot of times we say, let us believe in you until you can believe in
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Make sure you are surrounded by people like you, or mentors that 100% believe in your ability to probably be more successful than you even dream of. And I would say that's probably the most important thing, is to get yourself around a community of people where they are edifying you and promoting you and believing in you, taking it to the next level. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not capable of it, or that just because you're a woman, you can't reach the same success. I mean, now there really isn't any ceiling for women. In the old days, women weren't supposed to run their own movie studio or have their own business or be the top person in
Right.
as a
And now they
consultant.
are.
It's not that way. There's no there it that's gone, right? If you were raised by people that made you believe that, then it's a reprogramming. You must get around people that can reprogram that negative, scarcity
Self-talk. Yeah.
mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is what you do, obviously, for your clients. And so I would say to people, stay around Judy because she does that. We, of course, do that for the women that we work with as well. We work with women and men, obviously, who are business owners. But I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And even people you may never meet. I mean, I have people who mentored me for many years through podcasts and whatnot, and I never even knew them, but they made a major shift in my life, in different areas of my life. Before I even had Tony Robbins on my show or traveled with him, on stage, I was listening to his tapes, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like his personal power tapes. And he was one of my mentors at a very young age, even before I got to know him, and share the stage with him. So I think, and you can learn, women can learn from men too. Like that's why I
Absolutely.
say
And,
that.
and and that's why I say we encourage men to champion
Yeah.
women, because that's who
Yeah.
that's who we're surrounded by.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are men that respect women and they
Absolutely.
want to promote them and edify them. But again, if you find some incredible women, since we started our consulting program, those of you who are in that business, there's a woman named Amy Porterfield who's
I know
phenomenal.
Amy.
And
Yep.
she used to work for Tony, actually,
Yep.
Robbins. And then she went out and started her own business. And we are now collaborating with her. But she was incredibly helpful to us in the beginning. And now I'm getting a chance to collaborate with her and work with her and whatnot. And
That's
she's
awesome.
an amazing woman who started from nothing and built a business that she brought in over $100 million. And she was an employee for the Robbins company,
Yeah.
before that, and had to believe in herself that she was meant for more, and went out there and did it. And so that's what I would say to women is, do not give up on your dream. Make sure you are surrounded by the most positive people in the world, whether they're women or men. If you have family members or a spouse who doesn't believe in you or is negative, you're just going to have to learn to set certain boundaries,
Right.
right, up
Yeah.
with them.
And
And, they're probably trying to protect you, Or I will say, this is probably the most important thing, Judy, I can say. When you go to reach out to a higher level, it's either that people don't see the vision or they are threatened that if you move to a higher level, that
You'll
you
leave
will
them.
leave them behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want people to understand that, because I see that all the time, is that a lot of people who try to push you down, hold you down, they think they're trying to protect you, but underneath it is also their fear that if you move to a higher level and you go out and create something magnificent and start earning multiple seven figures or eight figures or whatever, that you will leave them behind, and it shows what they're not doing.
Right.
When you go through the challenges and you promote yourself and you believe in yourself and you overcome every difficult obstacle to, really, achieve your dreams, what does that do to people who aren't doing it?
Right.
It just
Absolutely.
shows them what they're not doing. And a lot of people are very threatened by that. And they don't, and they're not even doing this consciously. It is a subconscious thing that they do to hold you down. So if somebody is doing that to you, you can take a step back and say, what's their motivator here? And even if they're a family member, you can love them for what they cannot see in themselves.
Right.
If
Right.
they're trying to hold you down, you can still love them, but you have to keep your distance. And the people you go to for support are the ones that are going to help take you to that next level, believe in you, promote you, edify you, and lift you up on the days where you're having a really crummy bad day when you don't believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I
We
think
still
that's
have a
the
long way.
most important thing.
Yeah, we still have a long way to go as far as women who we sabotage ourselves and we have the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome and all of that. And many believe that that's really the way it's supposed to be. So we still have a long way
Right.
to go, but we have made huge strides. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and thank you for saying that because I think that's a really great message. So,
Judy, I know women that live in my community who live in a 10,000 square foot home. They drive fancy cars, Bentleys, Mercedes, whatever. They're a member of a golf club and blah, blah,
mhm,
blah. And they are miserable
yeah,
because they feel trapped by their very successful husbands. They have raised a family. They haven't worked in so many years,
and
and
they've
they're
lost
afraid
themselves.
what. Yes, they've lost themselves and they think I'm too old. They're in their 40s or maybe early 50s, and they think it's too late. And I just want to say one thing, if you're someone like that, it's never too late.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Totally
It's
agree.
just late.
Absolutely agree. Okay, so Kari, when our listeners want to find out more about you and being in the spotlight and everything else, what's the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect with us is either with our social media channels. I mean, you can follow me it's just at Kari Michelson. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that. But if you really want to connect and you're interested in finding more about what we do, just reach out to our office. It's just an email. It's support at inthespotlight.tv. And that's the name of our show. In the Spotlight. We're on ABC here in California. And, if you are interested in finding out more, just reach out and my assistant will get it, and mention that, you heard us with Judy and whatnot. And we'll set up a time to find out more about you and see how we can help you to, really get your message out there and promote you. And I say at the end of a lot of my promotions, I say, it's time for you to be in the spotlight. And I truly believe there are so
Hmm.
many people that have such a legacy inside of them, a message, something they want to share, whether they want to monetize it or not. But it's something they know they need to get out to
Yeah,
the world, in their lifetime. And it's time. Don't be sitting in that rocking chair saying, I
I
wish
wish
I
I would.
had, but
Yep, yep,
glad I did, you know?
yep.
And that's what I would say. We would love to, talk to you and hear what your message is and what your business is and what you'd like to share and how we could potentially support you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Awesome. So thank you so much for being with us today and taking the time and spreading your brilliance. This has been awesome. I appreciate you.
And I do want to mention, actually, sweetie, that if people who are interested, I do a master class. Like, I'll do this. I don't. I mean, it changes. Like, sometimes I'll do them periodically throughout the year, where I actually teach people. It's totally free. You don't have to pay for it or any of that stuff. where I just serve people who want to learn more about how to promote themselves. So if people are interested in attending that, especially, sometimes we charge for it, but anybody who's listening, and if they just say that they heard us here, just let them know, and I will make sure that the office sends them an invitation to come to that. It's about 90 minutes, but I go through all the details of literally how you can promote yourself effectively, whether it's just a book, a message, a business, or a product. So I'm more than happy to extend that for your
Thank
viewers.
you. Thank you. You're
Okay.
awesome. You're awesome.
All right,
So thank you,
sweetie.
and we'll talk again soon.
Yep, wonderful. And the last thing I want to say is I encourage all of your listeners to get to know you more. Do you know what I mean? I know some people may just be hearing you on the podcast and you're interviewing amazing people and not know the unbelievable entrepreneur that you are. I mean, you have achieved so much. I mean, people could not be in a better place to learn from you about how to go out and be successful in business. And if they don't even know your story, they should get to know your story, because of somebody who was raised the way you were, and what you had to overcome to become a successful female entrepreneur who's transforming so many people's lives. Just definitely, I want you guys to stick around Judy because she is absolutely incredible
Thank
and
you.
she will help take you to the next level.
Ah, you're so sweet, Kari. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
adore you with all
And I
my
adore
heart.
you
You
as
know that.
well. Yes, I do. I
Okay,
do.
sweetie.
All right. Well, thank you all for being with us today on Selling in a Skirt with Judy Hoberman. We get to bring the most amazing women and men. We do it every single time. So until next time, we'll see you then.